Okay, let's call it order at 10 o'clock. Ms. Cleary?
Dear Father, please look out for those in need, whether that occurs by weather, fire, natural occurrences, job loss, fear, or health. In the meantime, we thank our communities who continue to amaze all of us in their rare and care, volunteers, Washington County deputies, the DPW, the town DPWs, who all work together. We are so blessed to have all of them. Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In the event we're called to evacuate the building, please follow the signs to evacuate. Once you're safely outside the building, move a safe distance away. Also, remember to follow the instructions of our first responders. If you would, please silence your cell phones.
Mr. Hanky.
Here.
Mrs. Fedler.
Here.
Mr. Tall.
Here.
Mr. Shaw. Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Nolan.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Hahn.
Here.
Mr. Campbell. Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Clary.
Here.
Mr. Wang.
Here.
Mr. Rozell.
Here.
And 05.
3 minutes. Let's get the condensed minutes from January 17th, 2025. In your packet, I'll consider them accepted as mailed unless there's any additions or corrections. Do I see any additions or corrections? Seeing none, we'll consider them accepted as mailed. Do you have any communications?
Communications from Warren County. We are in receipt of their resolution number 18 of 2025, appointing members to the Warren, Washington County's Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation. That's all I have.
Committee reports. Audit committee.
Audit committee would like to move the audit reports to the main board for total payment of $7,850,789.27.
What's Supervisor Rozell? Is there a second? Fedler, Hall. Holland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. In your packet, you have a proclamation recognizing George Ferrone as the recipient of the 36th Annual Walter Juckett Community Service Award. That's a big deal. That's a good award. I really appreciate the way they, vet people and do this. And George is a very deserving fellow of this. Okay. We've got 1 minute. Let's see if we can get the local law A introduced. The clerk, read the title.
County of Washington Introductory Local Law A of 2025, introduced by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall. A local law repealing and revoking the County of Washington's intention to override the tax levy limit for fiscal year 2025 pursuant to the laws of the state of New York and Section 3C of the General Municipal Law.
5. And I would proceed to the public hearings. We have the clerk read the notice for Consolidated Ag District Number 1.
Washington County Board of Supervisors notice of public hearing on Agricultural District 8-year review, Consolidated Ag District Number 1. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County Board of Supervisors of Washington County, State of New York, at Washington County Office Building B in the town of Fort Edward on the 21st day of February 2025 at 10:05 a.m. on said day upon the agricultural district within the towns of Fort Anne, Granville, Hampton, Hebron, and Whitehall, known as Consolidated Agricultural District Number 1, to consider the recommendations of the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board and any proposed modifications of the district. All persons interested in the subject matter of Agricultural District 8-year review of CAD number 1 will be heard at that time and place concerning the same by order of the Board of Supervisors dated January 29, 2025.
Thank you. I'll consider the public hearing open at 10:06. Is anyone who wishes to be heard on Ag District number 1? Would you come up to the mic, please? Get your name and spelling for the record, please. Somebody's got to transcribe this.
Hi, my name is Hank DiMuzio, Dimuzio. My wife and I and my in-laws own 12 parcels in the town of Hampton, and I would appreciate your support for merging parcel 53-1 with 53-116. Won't take much of your time, but the history behind this is the neighbor to the east, before we bought this parcel, had done some logging. The people we bought the property from realized that some of that logging was done on their land. The logging company was looking at what the town had as the survey. The two neighbors agreed that it was actually a barbed wire fence line. They resurveyed it, wound up with 4 parcels of varying acres. We own 2 of those, and the neighbor owns 2. We're just trying to consolidate it. Unfortunately, they're landlocked parcels, and we wound up with 1 parcel in 2 different agricultural districts and 1 parcel in 2 different fire districts, 2 different school districts, and I think 2 different agricultural districts. So unfortunately, that one will not be able to be merged, I believe. So I just appreciate your support in merging those 2, and it'll look like the state of Vermont, which maybe that, don't hold it against us, but that's what it'll look like. Any questions for me? No? Okay. Thank you very much for your attention.
Also wishes to be heard on Consolidated Ag District number 1. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on Ag District number 1? Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak at this public hearing? Having called 3 times and heard no further things, we'll declare this public hearing closed. We'll move on to the public hearing for Consolidated Ag District number 2, if the clerk would read.
Washington County Board of Supervisors notice of public hearing on Agricultural District 8-year review, CAD number 2. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County Board of Supervisors of Washington County, State of New York, at Washington County Office Building B in the town of Fort Edward on the 21st day of February 2025 at 10:05 a.m. on said day upon the agricultural district within the town of Putnam, known as Consolidated Agricultural District Number 2, to consider the recommendations of the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board and any proposed modifications of the district. All persons interested in the subject matter of Agricultural District 8-year review of CAD 2 will be heard at that time and place concerning the same. By order of the Board of Supervisors dated January 29, 2025.
Comment is this be heard at this public hearing on Ag District number 2. Is there anyone who wishes to speak at this public hearing? Having called 3 times. Is it privilege of the floor? Anybody need privilege? Seeing none, we'll move on to the resolutions, and a couple of things I'm going to get to the deeper in the resolutions. I'm going to take a couple out of order. I'm going to move 55 up ahead of 36 because we have to do a also, I need a motion to set aside the rules for resolutions 57 and 59 and have the clerk read the resolves only, starting with 57.
Move it, Chairman.
Moved by Supervisor Hall, second. Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Wilson, Clary, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 57 by Supervisor Hanky, titled in support of funding in the government's 2026 executive budget to to committees impacted by docks and juvenile justice facility closures. Resolved, the Washington County Board of Supervisors strongly recommends and encourages the inclusion of this in the 2026 New York State budget to mitigate the damage caused to Washington County's economy by the closure of Great Meadow and the impact of the loss of $197 million to the residents of Washington County. And be it further resolved that a copy of the Great Meadow closure economic impact statement be attached to this resolution. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to Senators Steck and Ashby and members of Assembly Benedetti, Simpson, and Warner. Resolution number 58 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, titled to waive a provision of the travel policy for use of a personal vehicle by the Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds for county business. Resolved that the board approves payment of the January mileage voucher submitted by the Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds in the amount of $318. And be it further resolved that during the duration of the highway barn projects, the Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds shall receive mileage reimbursement for use of his personal vehicle when used for county business. And be it further resolved that the authorization for the waivers contained in this resolution shall terminate upon the completion of the highway barn projects. Resolution number 59 by Supervisor Hanky, title appoint member to the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation. Resolved that Nathan Etu of Warren County is hereby appointed as a member of the Warren Washington Industrial Development Agency, replacing Craig Leggett, and serve concurrently on the Civic Development Corporation, filling the unexpired term that expires December 31st, 2025. And be it further resolved that this resolution is contingent upon the adoption of a similar resolution by the County of Warren.
Nobody needs a recess, I assume. Okay, we'll move on to the consideration of resolutions.
Resolution number 15 by Supervisor Shaw, titled to reaffirm Consolidated Agricultural District Number 1.
Chairman, moving resolution number 15, please.
Aye.
Resolution number 16 by Supervisor Shaw, titled to reaffirm Consolidated Agricultural District Number 2.
Chairman, moving resolution number 16, please.
Aye.
Resolution number 17 by Supervisor Shaw, Clary, Campbell, Skelly, Fisher, Baker, Wang, title authorize the chairman to sign an agreement with Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation.
Chairman, moving resolution number 17.
Paul, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Skelly, Wang, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 18 by Supervisor Shaw, Clary, Campbell, Skelly, Fisher, Baker, Wang, title authorize the chairman to sign an agreement with Black Dog Design for tourism services.
Chairman, moving resolution number 18.
Supervisor Clary, second. Fiddler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 19 by Supervisor Shaw, Clary, Campbell, Skelly, Fisher, Baker, Wang, title authorize the chairman to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board for participation in Champlain Basin Septic Smart Regional Implementation Grant.
Chairman, moving resolution number 19, please.
Okay, second. Fiddler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Wang, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 20 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, O'Brien, Shaw, Clary, Baker, Wang, title awarding RFP 2024-38 Washington County Sewer District Number 2 engineering services for for a multifunctional process control and administration facility project.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 20.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 21 by Supervisors Tall, Hall, Wilson, Baker, titled to authorize contracts pursuant to Youth Bureau Resource Allocation Plan.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 21.
Hall, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 22 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, O'Brien, Shaw, Clary, Baker, Wang, titled to award mini bid 2025A for K-9 Durango Patrol.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 22.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 23 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, O'Brien, Shaw, Clary, Baker, Wang, titled to award mini bid 2025B for 2 Durango Investigator.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 23.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. Let the record show. Judges this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
What a backdoor policy.
Resolution number 24 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, O'Brien, Shaw, Clary, Baker, Wang, titled to award mini bid 2025C for 2 crew cab plow trucks.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 24.
Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 25 by Supervisors Tall, Hall, Wilson, Baker, titled to authorize chairman to sign internship contract with Empire State College.
Hall, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion.
Aye.
Resolution number 26 by Supervisor Henke, title Appointment to the Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board.
26, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Hogan, Wilson, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 27 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, O'Brien, Shaw, Clary, Baker, Wang, title to approve change order, Washington County Sewer District Number 1, Sewer Rehabilitation 2024 project.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 27.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 28 by Supervisors Tall, Hall, Wilson, Baker, title to make appointments, reappointments to the Washington County Youth Advisory Board.
Resolution number 28.
Hall, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Hogan, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 29 by Supervisors Hall, Campbell, O'Brien, Skelly, Nolan, Tall, title amend the staffing pattern, DPW, Fire Bureau, Public Safety, and Social Services.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully moving resolution number 29.
Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Wilson, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 30 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, titled to set time and place for a public hearing on introductory local law A of 2025.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 30.
Ryan, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 31 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, titled to correct tax roll.
Chairman, moving resolution number 31.
Ryan, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 32 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, title amend the 2024 planning budget for Champlain Basin Septic Grant, Round 4.
Chairman, moving resolution number 32.
Ryan, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 33 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, title amend 2025 planning budget to carry over unspent Champlain Basin Septic Grant, Round 4.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 33.
Moved by Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 34 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, title amend 2025 planning budget to carry over unspent Round 3 septic grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 34.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 35 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, title amend budget capital project number 125 for additional engineering services, 40 and Barn.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 35.
Ryan, second. Fiddler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now if we'd switch.
Resolution number 55 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tull, title Washington County Seeker Resolution regarding the reconstruction project at 1153 Burgoyne Avenue, Fort Edward, New York.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 55.
Excuse me. Before,
Hall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn. Yep. Yeah,
okay.
I get the thing on the floor first, though. Nolan. Okay, now, you've got your seeker form, you've all read it thoroughly, I'm sure. We're gonna go into it a little bit more thoroughly with Mr. Polkowitz.
So I'm bond counsel to the county in connection with this project. And that resolution 56 is the serial bond resolution, and resolution 36 deals with the authorization of funding for the Burgoyne Avenue project. Normally, this project would be a type 2 action, meaning that it would be exempt from seeker because it's just a replacement of the building itself. However, this project also contains an expansion of resurfacing about 20,000 square feet on the site, which takes it out of the type 2 action. It doesn't meet the criteria of type 1, so it's called an unlisted action. As a result of that, you have to go through the short form EAF, which was prepared by Ryan Carroll, who's an engineer with LaBerge, and was signed off on by Matt Jones. And so that's what you have reviewed. The next steps are that we have to go through an open session, the 11 questions in the part 2 of the form. If all of those questions are answered, no or small impact may occur, then you can proceed with the Resolution 55, which is a negative declaration saying that it doesn't have any adverse environmental impact. If any of the questions are answered moderate to large impact, we may have to then evaluate that and go through a long-form EAF and have additional environmental analysis done. So based on what the engineers have told us, that none of the items that they've identified in Part 1 would generate a large or moderate impact on any environmental issue, but seeker requires that we go through the 11 questions with all of you so that a consensus of the board believes that there would be a no or small impact. So I'm going to read through each of the 11 questions, and we just need some nods of heads. If somebody has an objection to it and believes that there should be a moderate to large impact or wants further discussion about any of the particular questions, you should do so, because ultimately, when we finish the 11 questions, then you'll proceed with the Resolution 55 on the negative declaration. Any questions on the process? So let me go through these questions with you. So the first is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? That would be no or small impact. Okay. Question 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? Again, no or small impact. 3, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. 4, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that caused the establishment of the critical environmental area? 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private wastewater treatment facilities, utilities? 8, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna?
No.
10, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, so then you can proceed. It requires a roll call vote on the seeker resolution 55. And then ultimately, when you get to the serial bond resolution, which is resolution 56, that also requires a roll call vote. So thank you.
Got the motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? I think it- For the most part, the way seeker's written is.
Said yes, we will. Okay. Mr. Hanky, Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn, Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell. The resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 36 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title to create capital project 139 Burgoyne campus renovation.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 36.
Brian, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Nolan, and Wilson. Get that? Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 37 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 Public Health Budget to carry over unspent Early Intervention Administration grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 37.
By Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 38 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 Public Health Budget to carry over unspent public health infrastructure, workforce, and data grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 38.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 39 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 Public Health Budget to carry over unspent child passenger safety grant.
Chairman, moving resolution number 39.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 40 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 Public Health Budget to carry over unspent emergency preparedness grant.
Chairman, moving resolution number 40.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 41 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2024 budget to recognize Adult Protective Services grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 41.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 42 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2024 budget to recognize Elder Justice Act Adult Protection Services grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 42.
O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 43 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 budget to recognize Adult Protective Services grant.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 43.
Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 44 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 budget, DSS, to carry over unspent New York State Shelter Arrears Eviction Forestallment Program funds.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 44.
O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 45 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend 2025 budget, mental health, to carry over unspent opioid settlement funds.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 45.
O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 46 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary Hall, Nolan, Tall, titled to authorize acceptance of Water Quality Improvement Grant Project number 140791, Washington County Road Salt Reduction Initiative.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 46.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. We haven't got to worry about road salt reduction. The governor's ensured that we run out of road salt. So no one's got any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 47 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend budget, capital project number 123, public safety microwave and equipment upgrades for statewide interoperable communications grant.
Chairman, excuse me, moving resolution number 47.
O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 48 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend the staffing pattern and exempt salary schedule for supervising assistant county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 48.
Bryan, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler?
Yes.
Mr. Tall?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly? Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Wang? Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 no. Resolution number 49 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend the staffing pattern and title by grade schedule for Public Health Program and Emergency Preparedness Coordinator.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 49.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. It's also a roll call.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler? Mr. Tall?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly? Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Wang? Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 50 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend the staffing pattern and title by grade schedule for infection control communicable disease coordinator.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 50.
Bryan, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. Another roll call.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler?
Yes.
Mr. Tall? Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn? Mr. Skelly? Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary? Mr. Wang? Mr. Rozell? The resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 51 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title amend the title by grade schedule for youth intern.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 51.
O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. Another roll call.
Mr. Hanky? Mrs. Fedler?
Yes.
Mr. Tall?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn? Mr. Skelly? Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Wang? Mr. Rozell? The resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 52 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title Standard Workday and Reporting Resolution.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 52.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Clary, and discussion. Another roll call.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn, Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell. The
Yes.
resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 53 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title Ratify Agreement between Washington County and New York State Nurses Association for years 2025 through 2027 for employees of the Public Health Department.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 52.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. 53, I'm sorry. Clary and Nolan. Discussion. Guess what? This is a roll call too.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell. The resolution is adopted, 4,351 yes, 339 absent. Resolution number 54 by Supervisors Hall, Campbell, O'Brien, Skelly, Nolan, Tall, title to amend the Employee Handbook Section number 7.004, subsection Disability Benefit Policy.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully move resolution number 54.
Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 56 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 56.
By Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Wilson, Clary, and no discussion. This is a roll call and requires a 2/3 majority to pass.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler, Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,133 yes, 293 absent. Resolution number 57 by Supervisor Hanky, title, in support of funding in the governor's 2026 executive budget to communities impacted by docks and juvenile justice facility closures.
Ryan, Hahn, Wilson, Clary, Rozell, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 58 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Nolan, Tall, title to waive a provision of the travel policy for use of a personal vehicle by the Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds for county business.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 58.
Supervisor O'Brien, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 59 by Supervisor Hanky, title Appoint Member to the County of Warren, Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation.
Fine. Second. Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. Understand we'll probably be doing this again in a little while also. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to point out that at no time in that process did I blow a roll call or did I screw up Hall.
That's on you.
I think that's critical to note here. Supervisors' comments. Okay.
Thanks to all of the highway departments for working triple time. Like the public to understand that this is the municipalities and the towns that don't have the salt. That's the salt shortage. We received numerous calls where they think the salt shortage has to do with the bag salt in the highway, in the hardware store. So they're very complaining because we don't have the roads cleared. It's not us. The salt shortage is to the highway departments.
So,
All this last storm, so. Okay, any other supervisors' comments? Ms. Cleary.
I'm always amazed at how the DPW works together in regarding supporting each other's towns and communities. They continually step up to the plate and do that, whether just natural occurrences because, you know, somebody's in the hospital or somebody's sick or, you know, they don't have enough employees or whatever. It's a good example for us all. And I thank them for the last storm. I'm sure we have more coming, but I'm agreeing with Cassie, you know. I don't know about everybody else's phones, but, you know, like sidewalks and disability ramps and all those things in the middle of a ice storm. Probably a good idea to stay home and let people do their work and not expect to have them cleared immediately. But you do the best we can and everybody does the best they can. And so I really thank them all for doing that. So.
2 days. I got some interesting perspectives going down to the Association of Towns. That, by the way, is coming back up after they were running about 1,600 people showing up to that meeting. And then COVID, after they closed for 2 years, the next year they, after that, when they started the meeting again, they had 900. So we're back up to 1,300 this year. It was a good meeting and talking to other people around and just evaluating some of the county perspectives. We've got some awful good staff here. There's been all kinds of things that have come up just recently, and it seemed like it all dropped on my head yesterday when we walked in. It's amazing the creativity and the way that our staff and our department heads and our right from the top on down to the guys shoveling the sidewalks work together and have a spirit of getting things done. It's until you've sit down and look at it and you get into a situation, you really don't understand just how good people we've got. I really appreciate it. And I would think it would all be remiss if we didn't say something about the prison strike. We're hoping that's gonna get over soon without any further injuries or traumas going on. I know there's been some injuries and things and some others. Our Washington facility is still relatively safe, although the guys locked inside, you know, not only the inmates, but the guards who have not been allowed out. I really sympathize with that. it's a terrible situation for everybody involved. I hope we get that over with quickly. And I, on the same hand, absolutely sympathize with the reason that they're striking. They've been treated just horribly for the past, well, probably a couple of years at least, but, it's been getting progressive. I think that the treatment of our staff in these institutions has been just reprehensible. Anybody else? Mr. Hahn?
I just want to echo what you were saying and add to it a little bit, Mr. Chairman. It's more than the last couple of years. My experience was the last 30 years, so this was a long time coming. And I don't want to say too much, but it's a really sad situation that they had to go to this length to get the state to listen to their pleas for some help. I've talked to officers that have worked 24 and 36-hour shifts, and they don't know when they're going to be able to go home when they go to work. They just pack for days, so they will be prepared and not starve because they can't go home or go out. That's all I got.